little cough going, dude. I've noticed it's whenever I start my stream and start talking. Okay, this might sound weird. Unless I start my stream at home, I don't speak. Because, like, there's nobody here. So, like, my first words of the day are always on stream. When I say good morning, that's the first time my mouth's opened. You don't want a roomie? Oh. Well, okay. So I had the same roommate. Well, I technically had a roommate in college, but okay. Well, we'll do a quick recap. Okay, quick story time. So when I moved into college, my freshman year, I had a single room, and I had that for the whole year. And it was Pog. I transferred schools, and I transferred to the school I graduated from, Bryant in Rhode Island, and the school was very much over capacity that year. It had the largest freshman class in history. Let's just say space was very limited on campus, to the point where they were encouraging people who live close by to commute from home. So I had a suite where it was 2, 4, 6. I think it was 6 of us. I moved in, and my roommate never showed up. Like, he just never showed up. Like, never. He was apparently coming from China and, like, just ditched. Just said, nah, I'm not going. And just never showed up. So, because of that, they didn't give me another roommate right away. Because they were like, is he coming? And, like, the parents didn't know if he was coming. And, like, it was a whole ordeal. So I basically ended up having this massive room my first semester to myself. And so one of my friends would always come down and stay. And, you know, like, it was a good time. It was nice having a guest bedroom in inside my college dorm, you know? It was kind of sick. Second term rolls around, and they're gonna move this other kid in, and this kid was dude, I knew from the start this was not gonna go well. So I was like, nah, like, you guys gotta chill, like, this ain't gonna happen. And they were like, well, no. I was like, look, I understand I had a solo for the whole year, but, like, just, like, don't just, like, stick me with, like, the first kid that everyone else doesn't want in their rooms, like that. So I was down, like, in the the residence hall office, and they kept giving me the runaround about it, and I was like, okay, like, enough's enough, you know? But I basically got real mad because this dude was like, well, you can't do anything about it. And I was like, the you mean I can't do anything about it? I was like, dude, like, this kid is literally, like, trying to smoke in the room and shit, not weed, like cigs. I was like, nah, bro, like, that ain't happening. I was like, one of two things gonna happen. Either you're gonna have a problem or he's gonna have a problem, and that ain't gonna go well for nobody. The guy was like 6'1" or so, and he put his hand on me and was like, he's like, I want to need you to calm down. I just went boom. I just slammed that shit again. Like, his wrist hit the wall and shit. I was like, don't you touch me, bro. And I just slinged it. And this is like probably like my peak physical condition at the time. So, like, I was very strong. And his arm just went bonk off the wall, made like a little clunk noise, etc. And he was like, I didn't mean, like, you know, I didn't. He's like, I'm sorry. I was just trying to, like, you know, calm down. I didn't mean to touch you. I was like, nah, bro, like, chill. And he was like, okay. And he walked out of the room. He comes back in. He's like, okay, like, listen, like, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't mean to do that, etc. And he's like, I'm not supposed to do this. I was like, okay. He's like, I have a room. I do technically have one. And I was like, I'm listening. And he was like, but it's where the seniors are. So the seniors had townhouses in a different part of campus, and it was supposed to be like a very, you know, it was your privilege of being a senior. Like, you got like a kitchen, a full living room. It was a house, right? He's like, you're not really 21 though. And he just felt like he just didn't have any other options. He was like, I don't know if I can put you there. And I was like, listen, dude. And I was like, this is when I was playing Siege at the time. I was playing Siege professionally. I was like, I just got signed to a professional team for this game, so you know I'm a stay in my room type, right? I was kind of giving some bullshit at the time. I really wasn't, but I was like, you know, I'm a just type who stays in my room all the time. I won't cause you any problems. It won't come back to you. So I convinced the guy to let me move in there, and it was technically called a single room. And guess what it had? It had 2 beds again, but it was too small to be like my old room where I treated it like a guest bedroom. It was just 2 beds next to each other. So, oh my god, I need to tell you, this is the second part of the story. Remind me of the toucher. Remember that. Remind me, channel. That's part 2. So, you know, I put the 2 beds together, and I basically had a queen bed for college. It was great. I'm not gonna lie, it was sick. But the good part of living in the senior houses was whenever public safety came by, if they thought you're having too much alcohol or something, they just asked you to pour it out. They didn't ask for anything else, because, you know, I was big dude in big house. It was like, you know, everyone just assumed. So I was like, you know, I saw some wild shit down there. It was my first time since I left my basically like hood hometown, like where I grew up. Like I grew up basically like in the hood. It was interesting. And when I went back one time, I was like, why is everything all boarded up and barred up? What the fuck? And I was like, oh, I grew up in the hood. Fuck. Like, I didn't realize until like I was like a full grown adult. I watched somebody get alphabet souped. So if you don't know what alphabet soup is, you know what? That's another story. I'll tell you at the end. And remind that part. Going back, after that year, they wouldn't let me have a single room anymore. It wasn't possible. So I ended up having a roommate who was another kid we played football with, but I wasn't playing football anymore because I had torn this. And so I was still in rehab and recovery. And so I never stayed there. So I slept there like 3 nights throughout the semester. I commuted for the rest. It was when I transitioned to be a commuter. But I kept the room there just in case, like parties and stuff on the weekend. But basically, he ended up having his own room, so like he was pretty happy about it. In the end, I ended up pulling it out for second semester. But that's when I swapped to being commuter. And then my senior year, I got an apartment in Providence. And me and my childhood friend, who's one of my best friends, he moved with me down there. So he commuted from Providence all the way back up to like where I live, like, which was like 45 minutes to an hour, no traffic every day, and on the way back 2 hours a day for work. And he wasn't making very much at the time, so I kind of felt bad for him, but he wanted out of the house and it was his best option, so he lived with me. After that year, we moved out into a place together. We lived there for a year, and then he ended up moving home because he wanted to save some money, because he was going back to school to fit. So he was a mechanic. He's a mechanic. But he learned everything from his dad, but he didn't have a degree technically to back it up. So a lot of places like Ford, etc., wouldn't hire him. So he had to go to mechanic school to get a degree and just like finish it up. You know, he knew everything there. So like it only took him 6 months, but he needed to have the piece of paper. So he moved home for it, save up some loans and stuff. And that's why I moved into this place by myself. Since then, I've not lived with anyone else. No. We did live with one other girl in Providence. She was awesome. She was like the mom of the house. But other than that, no, it's just always been me. And I like it that way, you know? It's not a bad time. It's not a bad time. So if you don't know what alphabet soup is, by the way, that was a weird day. Alphabet soup, or what that technically is called, is when a house gets raided by the FBI, JTF, like all SWAT, all the task force show up. And they only show up for major raids, like high profile ICE. Everything shows up for it, right? Like those are the ones where they bring in the big trucks. They call it alphabet soup in the hood. They call it the alphabet soup, or at least where I grew up, that's what they called it. Because if you think of all the things, SWAT, ICE, JTF, FBI, like they're all letters. So what's a bunch of letters thrown into one thing? Alphabet soup. Everyone shows up. And I remember it was during spring week. So spring week was the time of the year where it was one straight week of just like drinking, like it was right before finals. There's tons of fun stuff going on campus. And I remember like they kind of like closed off the cul-de-sac where like some of the townhouses were. And so mine was up on a hill. So from my house, you could see to the cul-de-sac. And all you saw was the entire thing was just surrounded with SWAT trucks. There was like 10 of them. I was like, whoa. I was like, that's alphabet soup. That's no joke. So there was some kid on campus that was selling like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of drugs. He had guns. Dude, we were like, nobody even like knew the kid. They're like, who the fuck is that kid? Like, I've never even seen him before. But he like never showed up for class and stuff. He just lived there. We're like, what the fuck? So yeah, it was a fucking wild show. And then actually right as they were finishing up, there were people playing volleyball. So there's a volleyball court in that area. I watched this girl tear her ACL, blackout drunk, playing volleyball, and her leg literally just went like this, whoop, and then you just saw her go boop, and just like fell over, and she stood up, went boop, and just fell back over, and then stood back up, went boop, and just fell back over again. And I was like, yeah, I was like, she's toasted, and her friends are all sitting there laughing, and I'm like up in like some chairs, right? Because like we had some chairs on the deck, right? And I was like, that girl tore her ACL. One of like the kids, like one of the dudes like looks back at me like, huh? Like, who the f? And then like he saw like the group. So like we're just like a bunch of big dudes like sitting on like small chairs on a porch, and they're like, oh, it's one of the football houses. Fuck. And so like they went over and like picked her up and like just like slowly carried her away. And I was like, damn, that poor girl, dude. Never saw her again. That was an interesting time. Okay, now the actual story you guys were looking for. Now this one's a shit show. So that's sophomore year when I lived in that place by myself, and there's a reason why this part of the story is important. When I lived like in the place with the bed that was put together. One night, so people used to come into campus a lot. It was one of those nights that like it was during that spring week period, right? Like it was like there wasn't supposed to be people on campus, like extra people, like no guests, etc. Because it's such a high profile thing, you know, like so many people want to try to get in and stuff, so they limit it. So some kid like snuck in, and this kid got drunk, and he clearly had been there many times. He was like 29 years old. And so the way the townhouses were designed, where the houses went boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. This person knew that. You wouldn't have known that unless you went to the school. And so they went into every girl house on the block, and there was like 10 of them, and went in and like touched girls in their sleep. Now, some people woke up, some people didn't wake up. The reason that's important is because the last house on the block went boy, boy. That last house on the block was my house. And so this is important. My house is here. My truck was parked out back. So the guy came into our house, didn't stop at the room downstairs, and went upstairs. I was the first room on the stairs. And so the guy came into my room. Now remember, I had that bed that was put together, and I am a big, loud, fucking snoring sleeper. So from what I've been put together, the guy opened the door to my room and came in and just saw this polar bear like this, sprawled out in the middle of the bed, and stopped in my doorway and just stared at me, and then slowly backed out. Now, the way the thing was designed was you went up the stairs here, took a corner. My room was here, bathroom, my other roommates. So my roommate's door was looking right into the hallway, and his bed could see down the hallway. So their door was open. So they left their door open a lot. My door was shut a lot. And they looked at the guy. Now, they thought it was one of my friends, and they go, what? You know? So the guy looked at me, or I looked at my roommate, and my roommate's all like, this was not when I was living in the football house, so he was just like this little dude, and he was like, hello? And the guy freaked, like spazzed, because he realized this isn't a girl house. So not only did he just see a giant polar bear asleep in one room, but some dude just saw him. So he sprinted down the stairs and sprinted out the back door. Now, he was still a little drunk, but the stupid idiot didn't realize that there was a camera on the end of our place. Now, there was 2 parking spots behind the house. There's a parking spot and a handicap spot. I had the one spot of the house. It was great. And so this guy came sprinting up the little hill there where my truck was parked, and face first just ate my grill. Just boom, just full speed into it, trying to go up like around it, like slips and goes into it. And there was video footage. And I go, because we had to go, I'm skipping ahead. Let me finish this part. So he nails it and runs off. And I had I didn't have my pickup at the time. I had my Durango, but it was an old like 2003 Durango, dude. The thing was a monster, but it was all metal, right? So the next morning, they said to me, "Who is your friend who like freaked out this morning?" I go, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" They're like, "Your friend who left your room." I go, "Who left my room?" They're like, "What do you mean who left your room?" I was like, what do you mean who left my room? Nobody was there. So they start telling me some dude came out of my room. I'm like, I had nobody in my room but me. And so my roommate downstairs goes, "What?" The guy roommate downstairs goes, "Yeah, who the fuck sprinted out the door?" I was like, guys, that was not my friend. Like, I don't know who the fuck that was. So people were like, the next morning talking about like at like, breakfast and stuff like that. And that's when people started talking, like some dude was like touching girls in their sleep. And we were like, oh my God, that was definitely the dude. So police came and like, we had to like look at the security footage, and my roommate had to look at it to see if it was him. And so we got to watch him just go, boom, just right in my front grill. And I go, so that's where the dent came from. There was no dent. I was just kind of just trying to be funny at the time. I was like, that's where the dent came from. And like, they looked at me and like, one of the DPS, like the public safety dude starts laughing, but he's trying not to laugh. And this old grizzly cop from Providence goes, "Son, that's a 2003 Durango. That thing's made of metal. I promise you that dent must have been there, because that dude's face ain't strong enough to break that." And I was like, yeah, you're right. I just went, yep, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything, dude. My bad. So, yeah, that was a shit show, to say the least. He ended up getting arrested, and like, I think he got like 2 years or something like that for it. 2 years in jail for doing it, something like that. I don't remember what it exactly was, but it was in the news. I wonder if I can find the article, actually. Let me see. For those who don't think I'm telling the truth, beware, intruder touching sleeping students, Brown University says. May 2nd, 2016. I told y'all. All right, let's read this. I haven't read this in a long time, so let's read it very quick. Officially at New England University are warning the campus community to be vigilant after. Oh, so this is actually before he got arrested. So there's probably a police report where he got arrested too, because he got arrested. To be vigilant after reports of intruder touching students. Bryant University and Smithfield, Rhode Island police departments are investigating at least 5 reports of an intruder entering residence halls and appropriately touching students as they slept, in case the intruder fled when the victim woke, officials said. Officials believe that in each case the victim's doors were unlocked. So I'll talk about that in a sec. As communicated to students over the weekend, we are investigating all leads leading to the apprehension of the perpetrator. There's no place on our campus, blah, blah, blah. Anyone with information is okay, cool. So the reason the doors were unlocked are, so most places now they have like a scan, like you have a key scan. All the new buildings, like freshman, sophomore, junior dorms, all had scan-ins, right? The townhouses were the only ones who had a traditional lock. So most students in college typically carry just their phone and their wallet. Now, some don't even do those. They just have a case on the back of their phone, and that'll have their ID and their credit card, right? Because they don't want to carry much. Now, the campus is technically a private college or private university, so there's like, there's security at the front, and you have to pass through like a checkpoint to get in, especially at night, etc. And so theft and stuff like that was very rare. So most people actually left their townhouse doors unlocked for fear that they were locking out their roommates. Because the doors were so heavy and old, and the way the buildings were built, it was hard to hear people outside unless like your window was literally above them. So what people would do is they'd always leave doors unlocked. just because you wouldn't walk, like most people just wouldn't walk into somebody's house. That'd be kind of weird. Definitely happened before. Definitely had people, not in my place, but walk in other places like, oh, thought this was the party house, my bad, and then they just like leave. But most of the time, they just left them unlocked. It was just the culture. That's just what people did. So what actually ended up happening in wake of this is they changed the way the locks work for all the houses. Is they changed them to the RFID scanners for your IDs. And a lot of people were actually super against it because it ruined, quote unquote, the townhouse culture where people would just like walk to each other's houses, just like walk in and stuff and just like hang out with their friends. It was tough for parties because like if you were the person who was closest, like let's say it was a party of like 50 people, you were the person closest to the door, you had to just keep going back and opening the door, and it was just annoying for people. So that's why the doors are always unlocked. Whether you like the answer or not, it's just the truth. That's just how the answer was. Doorstop? You think, listen, half of us couldn't even dry our underwear. You think we're gonna have doorstops? I remember my dryer broke in my place and I had to hang all my wet shit in the little coat rack in the doorway, and because it was so dark and damp, they actually just, I didn't know this would happen to clothes. They actually froze, like they solidified. So instead of drying, like a shirt, right? They became like solid. Like if I stretched it like this is how solid it would be. Like it would not budge. I was like, what the f is this? This is actually the follow-up one. Police have identified the man who allegedly entered residence halls, breaking first and touching sleeping students. An arrest was for this person, 28. I was right about his age, dude. Dude, it's crazy how I don't mean to toot my own horn about this shit, but I don't know why, but sometimes my memory is just too good. Like I don't know why. Like I just don't forget shit. Police said a man was improperly touched by students, slept in their rooms. I technically was not one of these 5 because he didn't. I don't know if he touched me or not, so I said he didn't. Because I jokingly said to them, I don't think he wanted a polar bear. Did he? Like, I don't think people would touch a polar bear, to be honest with you. Inside in the rooms, the campus flooded with the students awoke. Officials believe in each case, victim's door to unlocked. Was excommunicated. Okay. Wait, does this have quotes? No, I never made a statement, so I wouldn't have anything in it. My bedroom door is unlocked. Our townhouse door unlocked. She told Eyewitness News. He's around age, college age. She was going in and out of houses, going in girls' beds with them, touching them inappropriately. Stoneburner said, like, your friends are doing okay under the circumstances. We were just a little shaken up, a little freaked out, but we're strong girls, she said. Yeah, it was, this was a shit show, to say the least. And, I almost kind of wish he tried it, you know? I kind of wish he tried it, you know? Because that wouldn't have went well for him. You know when you go through those situations in your head sometimes where you're like, you know, oh shit, if this ever happened, like, you know, I'd do this. Like if I woke up to a dude like over me, dude, he just we're on the second floor, we're gonna end up on the first floor, dude. We're gonna end up on the first floor, like through the ground, I swear to God. Like we'll make it happen. What happened? Just joined? You'll catch it on Let's too.